this bewildering, utterly improbable coincidence. No, Julian, it simply couldn't be the identical man. That would be too profoundly theatrical. Even for our lives. It might be besting. But it was. Julian marched back into the dining area. He cleared his throat with deliberate emphasis, his voice cutting through the remaining culinary silence like a sharpened chef's knife, or Emo Twasten. Moat, Mr. Grasp, pose rather unusual, yet profoundly pertinent. Query Turi. Do you, sir, make a professional habit of performing dramatically convincing, potentially Heimlich-worthy, choking episodes in Port Solara as finest dining establishments? Barnaby Grasp, momentarily pausing mid-chew, looked up, his expression a remarkable blend of innocence and cunning, devoid of any genuine shame. S. Julian. What a remarkably astute observation you make. You see, the inherent theatricality of it all. If Mott do not, in a professionally executed display of self-preservation, feign a sudden, terrifying gastronomic demise, or at the very least convincingly mimic an acute indecisiveness in life. Inverb this astute restaurant presenting me with the customary bill for services rendered, and presenting payment, my dear Julian, is simply, quite unequivocally, and fiscally, out of the question for a man of my particular means. Only by, he chuckled, a hearty, utterly shameless sound. The laughter of a man who had perfected the art of strategic non-payment. No money, and, regretfully, no magnificent Elysium Aerovistas either. Mott am profoundly chagrined to announce. That was, purely and simply, a fleeting figment of desperate, financially constrained imagination. Albeit a very compelling one. Awfully dolid lad. Listeners clad, dropping, with an almost cartoonish precision. He literally heard it thud, almost felt a subtle click in his teeth. He had, with his heroics, simply saved a conniving con artist. A professional choker, intent traumatized. Rate-free penthouse, perched high above the Port Solarsa skyline, listen, dissolved faster than granulated sugar in a cup of hastily brewed, overly hot, black coffee. It was a cruel, utterly absurd, cosmic joke. Oneself. Alistair, ascendancy, quasuminiglais. Affaissement. The ensuing 24 hours were in the venerable annals of Unit 3B categorized under days of profound dejection and existential weariness. Conjubi, Minfi, traumatized. Julian, Serafina, and Pippa slumped, defeated, like three deflated party balloons. In their perpetually chilly, the thermostat remained resolutely broken living room. Julian stared morosely at the still patched hole in the wall. Serafina says artfully concealed plumbing damage. Unjibir. Hit from a Tony head. Who of? The patch, once, a symbol as a grim, gaping reminder of their recent view dashed hopes for an ocean view penthouse and a life free from Alistair Piffle's managerial tyranny, when Pippa, as melancholy comfort food, lukewarm, overcooked lentils hung heavy in the air. Omnintu baiged, isihod. Pippa sighed dramatically, stirring her lentils with a profound sense of world weariness. Entleys. Imagine the invigorating freshness of the unburdened sea breeze at such an altitude, untainted by the mere mortal grievances of communal laundry facilities. Now, we seize A. gutters of traffic and Alistair's relentless mutterings about the inadequate filtration system in the rain gutters, ruining a hand over his tired face. It is less the height Pippa and more the abysmal depths to which my inherent human trust has plummeted. To be conned by a crème brûlée chanteur, it is a blemish upon my professional culinary integrity. Go equally dejected, attempted to maintain a shred of her customary practicality. Well, on the bright side, at least we haven't officially signed any new leases with Barnaby Grasp. The structural integrity of that penthouse might have been as illusory as his generous spirit at optimism. Fell flat, leaving an echoing hollowness in its wake. Come a loud, tight, guttural banging erupted from Alistair Piffles' downstairs apartment. Unit 1B, we traumatize. This was followed by a volley of surprisingly culminating in a triumphant, almost gleeful yell from Alistair himself. How do you unequivocally like them green apples, Barnaby? That, my dear Grasp, is a distinct change of managerial palette. On to be. A few bewildering minutes later, a breathless, utterly transformed Alistair Piffle burst through their flimsy apartment door, which he, with his newfound self-assurance, neglected to close properly. Again. His waistcoat, typically a meticulously buttoned bastion of starch and self-importance, was now rakishly askew, several buttons defiantly undone. His tie, usually cinched with architectural precision, hung loose and slightly crooked. Meticulousness, with an almost forensic meticulousness, was in delightful disarray. An unexpected explosion of untamed grey, Inbul Rotuam. A radiant, joyous, slightly maniacal grin, utterly unprecedented in its joyous abandon, stretched from ear to ear. He looked like a man who had wrestled a very aggressive, very loud, invisible gorilla and, improbably, won. By traumatized. He did it. That worm, old Barnaby Grasp, fell again, and this time, fate, with its divine poetic justice, dictated, he plummeted directly in front of my apartment door. Alistair beamed, radiating an almost visible aura of triumphant glee. Onabin Tenton. Mort personally picked him up, scraped him from the asphalt, hailed him a Port Solara cab, and the old wretch was so genuinely grateful for not being left to contemplate the philosophical nuances of concrete. He made me, Alistair Piffle, the indisputable, the Elysium Aerobistas. Mott, imagine, an unparalleled managerial ascension. Mott quit. Mott unilaterally informed my odious elder brother, Barnaby Piffle, that avaricious, manipulative titan of rental oppression, precisely where he could, omit his, in the vernacular of decisive corporate rhetoric, deposit his relentless, self-serving managerial directives, prisingitati, under traumatai, by delivering a surprisingly powerful guttural bark that rattled the already precarious shelves of Pippa's sprawling book collection. And Pippa exchanged utterly bewildered glances, their mouths agape. Alistair Piffle, of all people, now the manager of the ethereal Elysium Aerovistas, the same fictitious palace Barnaby Grasp had invented, Binisning Barties. This buelling absurd, it was a unbiased strip of comic logic, looping endlessly back on itself. Fall, Hawkeyes. Julian stammered, Mr. Piffle, an urgent need to inject a sliver of prosaic reality into the escalating fantasia. Regret to inform you. Is well. It has not precisely a legitimate, tangibly existing architectural establishment. It exists primarily within the fertile, if fiscally challenged, imagination of Mr. Grasp himself. It's a mere phantom of grand architectural delusion.